Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we've got a ton of stuff to go over today, so we're not going to spend too much time on intros. Caleb, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Just got home from working probably about an hour ago or so. So I'm ready to talk pop culture and stuff. I've actually really been enjoying doing this every week. It's been nice. It's been a nice way to get away from the hectic Sundays.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this too. It's nice to have an outlet for all the stuff because in my head I want to talk about. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah. I've had a pretty good week too. It's been a busy week, but
I
lots of
feel it.
news this week.
Oh
Lots of
yes.
news today actually. So let's go ahead and switch over to news. Uh, we've got Toy Fair going on right now. I don't know if you've been paying attention to that at all.
I haven't.
Lots and well, there's two lines I'm interested in. They're both by NECA Toys.
Okay.
One is gargoyles.
Oh really?
Have you seen those?
I haven't. No. So whenever it comes to like toys and figures, what I tend to keep up with, and even then I'm still kind of behind, is Star Wars Black Series and Marvel Legends. So I'm not too familiar with NECA.
Okay, so far they've only released Goliath, and there's one that's out right now for Thalog, his clone. I have not been able to find that one, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I have Goliath on my shelf, and he is ridiculous. He is huge. Like his wingspan is insane.
I'm sure. Like even in the show, he was kind of jacked.
Yeah, and I think all their wingspans are going to be pretty big. So eventually, they're going to release some foldable wings you can upgrade them with, so they can not be as big.
Right. Right.
So they showed off the rest of the clan today. Hudson and the others. So that was really
Yeah.
cool. And then we had a lot of Ninja Turtles, also from NECA today. Um,
Okay.
I have not collected any of those yet. They're very pricey. They've been coming
Yeah.
in 2 packs for the
That
cartoons.
Yeah, that is one thing that I know about NECA is they can get a little expensive. Like I remember one that I was looking at a while ago was the Batman on NES, but that was so expensive. So yeah, NECA can get really pricey.
So the gargoyles, they're like 35 a pop. I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're expensive, and but I was like, well, they're only releasing one like every 2 or 3 months. I think I could eat the cost as long as it's spread out. As long as I don't release like five at one time, I think I'm fine. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so the other thing was Ninja Turtles, and when I was a kid, you had two Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics. You had the originals that were ultra violent and black and white by
Yep.
Mirage. Then you had the ones that Archie put out called TMNT Adventures for little kids. Well, I say little kids. that comic book was not for kids if you actually read it. It was dealing with very heavy subjects.
Right.
Um, but there was characters in there. They made characters called the Butanimals. Um, they were a separate team. They didn't last very long. In fact, they all got killed at
Oh.
the end of their story. But a lot of these characters have never gotten figures, and I always want figures. So today they announced they are going to start making figures based on the Archie line, and they were showing some
Okay.
of them, and they looked awesome. I
Now
mean,
the
for me who's been waiting 30 years for these figures, I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually
yeah.
happening. Something I never thought would happen. So very exciting.
The Archie line, I'm not too familiar with that. Is that more or less based on like the art style of the cartoon, or was it kind of its own thing?
It was definitely more cartoony. Um, but it was during the 90s, so there was a lot of environmental themes about we got to save the environment, but they were going all over the world. They were dealing with just some really dark subjects, and a lot of people wrote it off saying, oh, that's the kid comic, you don't want that one. And if you actually sit down and read it, oh no, this is actually probably the better of the two titles actually.
You know, I It's very similar to Sonic the Hedgehog back in the 90s,
Right.
where they had the two cartoons. There was the one that was on Friday nights and one that was on Saturday mornings.
Mhm.
And the one that was like prime time Friday night was actually a lot more like Roadrunner, while
Right.
the Saturday morning one was definitely like the freedom fighters going against like the evil Dr. Eggman, and was super dark.
Yes. Yeah. So very similar. So we're happy. I was happy to see all those announcements. Very excited. And then Paramount, they had their Investors Day. I think it was Tuesday, where they revealed a lot of their new projects coming out this year.
Yeah.
They announced another Transformers trilogy, this time based on Beast Wars, which
Mhm.
it's hard to say with the Transformer movies. The first one is pretty fun, and then they go downhill. I've heard Bumblebee was great. I have not seen it.
Yeah, I haven't either. I do love that first one, and then I love that second one, 100% ironically. But the rest of them, I have not. Ironically, I think that Megan Fox kind of carried those first two films. I don't actually know that for sure, but those are definitely the two that I enjoy, and uh, yeah, I never saw Bumblebee either.
I know, and I don't know how much he's involved in the new one, but I know Michael Bay gets a lot of grief, but he can make a fun movie when he wants to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I recently saw Pain and Gain with The Rock, and I'm like, oh, that's actually that's pretty. And that was kind of like in the midst of his Transformers movies, so like it's not even like a time thing where like he used to be able to make good movies. No, he still can.
it's like
Just
Con Air. Con Air is a stupid movie. I love it. It
oh
is so much
yeah.
fun. it's it's just a blast from beginning to end.
Oh man, put the bunny back in the box.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that.
so much great stuff. Um, so moving on, because we got a lot to cover tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
Sonic the Hedgehog. They announced that Knuckles will be getting a series on Paramount Plus, and the Sonic
I'm
Three
so
is in
excited for
development.
that. I'm so excited. They
Yeah, I think
announced.
you're more of a Sonic fan than I am. I mean, I like Sonic, but I'm not like crazy about it. So
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know how I made it out of being like growing up with Sonic and being a huge Sonic fan and not like being like one of the weird ones obsessed with the OCs. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but like I've never been into like OCs or like going really deep into
yeah,
the
there's a weird part of the Sonic fandom out
yeah,
there.
yeah. Somehow I have teetered that line with like being really, really like enthralled in the Sonic universe without having to go that far.
Yeah.
But no, it's so hilarious how they announced Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like that's
Well,
just so
yeah,
funny to me.
yeah, because that's how the video games came out. Sonic
Yeah.
3 and Sonic and Knuckles. That's yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah.
Next, we have the new Star Trek movie. The original cast returning. I don't know how I feel about that because it's been a while since the last one came out, and I know they've had big gaps between the Star Trek movies in the past, but it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like we've moved on from that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, and so this Star Trek is interesting for me because my introduction to Star Trek, this will show my age a little bit, was what's now called the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah.
Um, and so like that was my introduction, and I'm familiar with the movies, but like I don't see. I'll be honest. I don't see like I respect the original cast, but I don't see like a whole original cast with a bunch of old people being an exciting movie. I don't know if that's wrong or not, but
Well, and this is a totally different podcast. They have kind of destroyed the Trek line with some of the recent shows, in my opinion. You've
mhm.
ran off most of the fan base, so I don't know if there's a fan base for this movie. I don't know. So that'll be interesting to see. They've announced this sequel like several times, and every time it hits a roadblock. So we'll see if it even gets made. Um,
Right.
then we had a picture of a new Blue's Clues special that had
I'm so excited.
it had all three of the hosts on there, so everybody's been comparing it to the last Spider-Man movie.
I'm so excited. Blues. Whenever Steve came out with that Twitter video, earlier, it was either earlier this year or late last year. Oh man, that got me in the feels, and I definitely never noticed it before, but they definitely like Steve, Joe, and Josh definitely give off that Toby, Andrew, Tom energy.
Yeah.
And so I have no idea what it'll be about. I'm definitely gonna watch it. 25-year-old Caleb, but I don't have any kids. I'm watching this for me.
I think there's gonna be a lot of 20-year-olds that grew up with Blue's Clues that are be watched it.
I'll have a watch party. That's what I'll do.
There you go. Finally, the one that I was most excited about was they finally showed screenshots or some concept art for the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie that Seth Rogen's been talking about for a couple years.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm a huge Ninja Turtle fan. I have been since I was a kid, and I'm cautiously excited. uh, it's Ninja Turtles can be very hit or miss with their movies, TV shows, and when they get it right, it's awesome. But every once in a while, you just don't know.
Yeah.
So the concept art showed the turtles. They look a little younger than we're kind of used to. Like Leonardo had braces, Donatello had glasses and stuff, and so it'll be interesting. I didn't hate the art style. It looked very Spider-Man into the Spiderverse or Mitchell's versus the Machines, and I think I read that the Mitchell's versus the Machines guy is the director is directing this also. So I really enjoyed Mitchell versus the Machines. If you
I
have
haven't
not
seen
seen
that
that,
one.
it's on Netflix. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's and I know a lot of people are nervous that Seth Rogen's involved. I don't know, like when I say Seth Rogen's involved, is he just producing it? Is he writing it? Is he in it? It's hard to tell. Because like he produced like the Invincible series, and
Mhm.
he produced like the Preacher series. There's some other things he's put money behind where he wasn't necessarily involved. So I don't know how involved he is.
Well, yeah, and that's what I think of whenever they're talking about like Seth Rogen wanting to be a part of the Ninja Turtles. Is I definitely think Invincible, and I think um, Preacher, where he's got kind of like this Pineapple Express thing that he likes to do, but I think when he really cares about a property, he respects it.
Yeah. Um, so one I forgot to send to you that we might talk about. Did you see the trailer for Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers?
I didn't. I saw that there was a trailer for it. I didn't. I didn't watch it because I saw everyone talking about how bad it looked. I didn't.
I don't know what to make of it. It is. It's kind of like a world where they're actors that were playing in the cartoon back then, and so it's like a Roger Rabbit type world
Oh,
where it's live
okay.
action, but they're cartoon characters.
So it's kind of like. Do you remember Looney Tunes Back in Action with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of okay.
And the big problem I had was they didn't have the chipmunk voices.
Oh,
It was just like I know it's not the same guy playing the song, but the one guy sounded like Sonic, and um, so it was kind of like okay, that's jarring. And I think if the joke is going to be when it shows up like on the TV shows, they'll have the chipmunk voices, then they'll go, oh yeah, that's just the voice we use for the shows, or there'll be some joke about that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. There were some funny jokes in it where like they were having like a party in the '90s, and I don't know if you've ever seen the music video, but Paula Abdul was in the background with the cat that she danced with in that one
yep,
video.
yep, yeah. I know
So
that
that
one.
so that was a funny joke, and then Roger Rabbit was in the trailer. So there's some funny
Oh,
jokes, and but then later on they were like they showed Dale, and he's had surgery, so now he's CGI, but Chip is still 2D animated.
gosh.
And So there's a part where they go to the bad part of town where all the bad CGI cartoons are, and like there's like a cats joke in the background where there's two cats fighting in an alley, and
Oh,
then there's a Viking that's voiced by Seth Rogen. That's why I brought it to mind, Seth Rogen, and he keeps doing the annoying Seth Rogen laugh, and I was just like, okay, I don't know if I can handle this. So uh, it's coming to Disney Plus in May. It'll be interesting. So tonight we were going to discuss. We were looking at some of the movies that are coming out in theaters this year, and we're just going to go down the list of ones that we thought were interesting. We pulled up a list on Wikipedia. They had all the movies come out this year. So the first one we're going to talk about is one you're pretty excited about,
yes, yes, I
um,
am.
and that is Studio 666. So why don't you tell us about Studio 666?
All right. So for those who don't know, I myself am a musician, and my favorite band of all time is Foo Fighters. Now, what Studio 666 is a horror film. Like, it's intentionally like a bad B horror film about them making their most recent album in this haunted house. Uh, and so in this house, like, weird things start happening, and the lead singer Dave Grohl actually gets possessed, and so he actually goes around and starts killing the other band members. Um, and from what I can tell, that's kind of the movie. What's really interesting is it's kind of based on them recording their 10th album, Medicine at Midnight, which was what came out last year. And uh, they did it in this house because it had like this really spooky sound to it, and they would walk in after a break, and all their guitars would be out of tune or something would be changed, and so they were like, oh man, this house is haunted, and so they decided to make a movie where the house actually was haunted. uh,
So I watch a lot of bad movies on riff tracks, Mishak's Theater and stuff. I have seen this movie done 1,000 times, where
sure.
it's like a rock band where one gets possessed by demons, they're all dying. It's been done so many times, so it'll
Okay.
be interesting to see the Foo Fighters take on that genre.
Yeah. And honestly, that's I think they're going into it like they know that it's been done like a million times, and so I think they're like intentionally they're either going to intentionally make it like every other one just to say they did it, or they're going to like play off of your expectations and really get down into it. Either way, if whether this movie is incredible or bad or incredible bad, I'm going to love it no matter what.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So one that I'm super excited about. I don't know if you got to see the trailer yet or not.
I did.
Is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I saw this trailer. I have no idea what's going on.
It looks bonkers. If you have not seen this trailer, please check it out. I hear a lot of people complain that all of Hollywood is nothing but remakes and sequels. So I encourage you, when you see something original, go support it. If it looks good, go put your money where your mouth is. They're not going to make original stuff unless you go support it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so this movie stars, what's her name, Michelle? You how do you say her
Is
name?
it Michelle Yeoh?
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh.
I did not notice that was Michelle. Wow, I didn't even notice that was her.
It's got her in it. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it, and
Yeah.
it's got Short Round from Indiana Jones in it.
Yes,
Uh,
I.
so it seems to be a wife who is struggling with her business and stuff, and also she gets knocked into a different dimension, and then she gets knocked into another dimension, and in each dimension she's like a totally different person. Some dimensions she knows kung fu, and some she's a chef, just different things. It looks totally bonkers. Like you said, it's hard to tell even what's going on in the trailer because so much is happening. Sometimes Jamie Lee Curtis is like, this. IRS agent or something, accountant, and then sometimes she's fighting her. You know, it's just like what is happening? But it looks great. It looks like my type of movie.
No, definitely. And, A24 is usually pretty good about, making these types of movies that's not sequels or franchise movies. So coming from that studio, this movie surprises me because I still have no idea what's going on, but it doesn't surprise me that A24 is the one who's making it.
Right, right. So that comes out in March. I highly recommend if you're into that type of thing. It kind of reminds me of the one with Jet Li.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
just it seems to me like there's something evil possessing people, and she's trying to fight it. It was hard to tell in the trailer, but that seemed to be the plot.
Does it
Um,
seem like, and this could be like its own discussion, but does it seem like movies are headed towards like, because at one point it was just the shared universe because everyone wanted the Marvel movie method with the shared universe. It seems like the multiverse
it's
is.
definitely the theme lately. I know the Flash is going to be dealing with that. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Mhm.
And Spider-Man through the Spider-Verse kind of kicked all this off. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's definitely in the zeitgeist where everybody's kind of thinking about it, and yeah, we'll probably
it
definitely see some more.
it's like Turtles Forever was like 15 years too
Oh,
early.
yeah, Turtles Forever, so much fun. All right, next up we have Morbius the Living Vampire.
now
Um, Go ahead.
Now, I don't know how you feel about this. I actually have been super excited for this movie. I'm kind of on board with the Venom movies and Sony making Spider-Man character movies, just
Yeah,
as long as we acknowledge that they're stupid.
so for those who don't know, Sony has the rights to the Spider-Man characters, but if they're doing something with Spider-Man, they have to cooperate with Marvel. So they're making movies based on the side characters. So this is one of those side characters, Morbius, the Living Vampire. Uh, I started out not caring about this movie, but then every time I see a trailer, I'm kind of more and more interested in where it's going. Um, they've kind of teased that Michael Keaton's going to be in it, which he
Yeah.
played the Vulture, and then you're kind of like, what are they doing that? It's kind of confusing. Um,
Well, yeah,
so
and
yeah,
from more and more, it's starting to look like they are wanting to do stuff with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man.
yes,
And so with Tom Hardy's Venom and Morbius, in fact, they've in one of the more recent trailers they've mentioned Venom. So it could be said that this and Venom take place in the same universe, along with perhaps Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
right. Because in one of the Morbius trailers, in the background, it shows a Spider-Man poster that says "murderer" across it, and in the recent Spider-Man film, Andrew Garfield said that he went down a dark path.
Stop pulling his punches.
Yeah, he stopped pulling his punches. So maybe this is the same universe, and I'm totally cool with that. If they want to have Tom Holland be the MCU Spider-Man, and then anytime Sony wants to do something, they can just um, plug in Andrew Garfield. I think that works.
Yeah, I think that like with the whole, obsession with the multiverse, that's what I'm excited about because I think there was a point where Hollywood didn't trust audiences to be able to differentiate, and for good reason. There was a time whenever people thought that Batman Begins was a prequel to Michael Keaton's Batman. Um,
Well,
but
I think there are still people out there who, I mean, we pay attention to stuff quite a bit.
yeah,
There are people out there just, oh, I'm gonna go see a movie, and then they're watching Avengers. They go, oh, when's Batman gonna show up? And they don't even, they don't realize these are two separate universes.
right.
So
But even then, at the same time, you're gonna have Batfleck and Robert Pattinson and um, Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman, I think that Hollywood is kind of starting to trust audiences to acknowledge, okay, we can have different versions of characters at the same time. Kind of like how comic books actually are.
And I'm glad we're getting to that because it was really annoying. I think it was it Arrow that had the Suicide Squad on there, and then they were told they had to stop using them because they were getting their own movie, and that was just
Yeah,
annoying that they didn't trust the audiences enough to be able to tell the difference. So they just, oh, this is a different version. Don't worry about it.
yeah, and so given the choice between the live action Suicide Squads, of course James Gunn's is the better one, but I do love Arrow's version with the actor who played Deadshot and with Diggle being involved in that, so they were definitely missed.
Yeah, yeah, it was a shame. Yeah, so Morbius, I don't know if I'll see it in theaters, but
I definitely will because my mom loves Jared Leto shirtless.
oh no,
That's my mom.
does she
So,
love you as a pale, skinny, crippled guy?
oh no, oh man, oh
Uh,
man,
yeah, Morbius I've always liked the character, but I also have a bad taste. I'm out from the Spider-Man animated series where he was like the villain for a whole season, and
with the plasma and like he did it with his hands.
yeah, there were so many restrictions on that cartoon. They weren't allowed to mention blood, so all you would mention is plasma. And they did a whole season about a vampire, but he wasn't allowed to bite anybody. So he had these little suckers on his hands, and it was terrible.
Well, how insane is it that it was because if I recall correctly, Morbius was actually one of the first reasons that Marvel broke the comics code.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then they go and completely censor him
I
in
think
the
I think
cartoon.
I think it was Avi Arad who put all these weird restrictions on it, like Spider-Man wasn't allowed to throw a punch on that cartoon, all this weird stuff. And so you had that cartoon, then at the same time you would watch Batman animated series where just all kinds of dark stuff was
Yeah.
happening.
You know what's funny? I actually never noticed the no punching thing until someone pointed it out to me, and now I can't unsee it.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh, Avi Arad, the first true believer.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing in No Way Home. To the first true believer, Avi Arad. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's in the. If you haven't seen it, the new Spider-Man movie has that in the end credits. Also, there's just across the screen. You're like, what?
I'm like, did Avi Arad write that himself?
He had to have. Ridiculous. All right, let's move on to the next one. One I'm kind of excited about. Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
One that I'm definitely excited about.
The first one had no right to be as good as it was, and it
Oh my
was a
gosh.
lot of fun. Jim Carrey was, I'm hit or miss with Jim Carrey, but it was pure comedy.
He was on point.
Yeah,
I
and
also love oh man, I am blanking on the actor's name right now, but he plays John Ralphio in Parks and Recreation. He is the guy who plays Sonic. He does a fantastic job. I love him.
yeah, and we're getting is it Idris Elba as
Yeah,
Knuckles?
Idris Elba as Knuckles. Oh man, it's when he said that, like, do I look like I need your power? I'm like, somebody needs to tell Idris that this is a kids movie and he doesn't have to like go this hard.
What I like is they seem to be embracing the games a little bit more in this one. You saw Robotnik's big robot machine from the games
Hmm.
and the trailer and stuff. So it looks like it's going to be a lot more. We're getting more towards the stuff from the video games. And like some of the places they were going, it looked like they were different levels, like snow and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I also like that they're bringing back because in films like this, typically you can have like your human viewpoint character, and then you completely change him in the next movie. But I actually really liked James Marsden, and so I'm glad they're bringing him back.
right, yeah. So I'll probably go to the theater see this one. Pretty exciting. If they show Shadow like in end credit scenes or something, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I can't. My brother and I were talking, and they, they have the logo for Sonic 3, and the 3 is like in all glowing red, and so it's either going to be Shadow or Metal Sonic. So we're definitely going to
Yeah,
be
Metal
having a
Sonic would be cool.
yeah, we're definitely going to be having a rival character of some sort for Sonic 3.
That'd be awesome. Next, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this one, the Northman.
No, I didn't see it, but I've seen some stills, and I did look briefly look it up on Wikipedia before we started. This looks interesting. It definitely it definitely looks like it's not God of War, because this is more of a a historical film, but it's definitely one of those that's like people are getting more interested in Vikings because of the recent God of War games. I feel, at least.
Well, there's a TV show Vikings also a lot of people are into.
That right, yeah,
Yeah, the trailer it just reminded me of Braveheart, but with Vikings, and
yeah.
Willem Dafoe's in it. So I'm like, okay, I really like Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah.
So um, so I just threw this on the list because it looked interesting. Next, we have one that everybody was talking about last week because of the Super Bowl trailer, and that is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh man, there's going to be so much to unpack with this whenever this comes out.
Do you think the movie might be too complicated for the audience?
Yes. I so here's the thing. I think it's too complicated for the audience, but I think that this movie is going to lead to a movie that hasn't been announced yet. I definitely don't think that the story will, like, with how complicated this movie already looks in the trailers. There's no way they can, because they've released the runtime. Uh, the runtime is 130 minutes, so that is 2 hours and 10 minutes. Whenever Endgame and No Way Home had 3 hours.
That's
Um,
odd.
so that there is no way that they resolve this film. Uh,
So the big secret, if you haven't seen the trailer, this is a spoiler, is that apparently Charles Xavier is in the film, which I'd heard that rumor for months and months and months. Um,
Patrick Stewart said my favorite thing about it. He says, people have been trying to imitate me for years, so that's not on me. I love like the excuses that these guys come up with why they're not in the movie.
yeah, that's great. Uh, yeah, Ryan Reynolds has been going around saying Deadpool's not in the movie, and he's been kind of mocking Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
So, because Andrew Garfield just lied and lied and lied about not being a Spider-Man, which
Yeah.
you have to do. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm in the movie." That would ruin the surprise.
Yeah. I actually saw something today. I don't know if this was an official report or if this was a leaker, but they said something about like we're going to be getting Wolverine in this film, but it's not going to be Hugh Jackman.
Well, and that's been the other rumors that Iron Man is in the movie, but it's not uh, Robert Downey Jr. That's going to be Tom Cruise,
which I kind of want, because wasn't he going to play Iron Man at one point in like
he
a
was
90s
on the
movie?
yeah he was on the list for years to play Iron. Anytime they bring it up, they go, "Oh yeah, we're trying to get Tom Cruise." That was always the answer. So I could see him doing that. He's done weird little cameos before in movies. Remember he was in one of the Austin Powers, So
I mean, after Tropic Thunder, I will never be surprised by Tom Cruise ever again.
right. Yeah, so I heard a theory. So I'm gonna share it with you. Xavier says there's something we need to tell you.
Or we should tell him or something like that. We should tell him the truth, I think is what he says.
Yeah. So the theory I heard is that all of the movies that we have seen up to this point are all in the House of M universe. and that this is all wrong, and that at some point Scarlet Witch has already wished away all the mutants, and so now we need to restore it, and that's how all the mutants are just going to pop up everywhere.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah,
I love it. I love House of M anyways.
yeah.
So because that's the thing is you gotta come up with a way to quickly bring in all these mutants and make it feel natural.
And I know we know that the movies that are coming out, but we still haven't heard a whole lot about them. Like Thor is coming out this summer. We haven't seen anything really about that. So
I
what if they're keeping it all kind of secret because we're gonna start mentioning mutants everywhere and we can't do it yet because you haven't seen Doctor Strange yet or
right,
something.
right.
You know.
And yeah, and that's why I say that like I honestly think that like so I think that Doctor Strange is going to be kind of like Empire Strikes Back where it ends on a cliffhanger and there's going to be like a movie that hasn't even been announced yet that'll be like the Return of the Jedi or something.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Wanda seems to be the villain. So maybe it's some type of Young Avengers movie where they're all coming up against Wanda or something.
That would be really cool for like uh Wiccan and oh, what's the other one's name?
Speed.
Speed. It'd be cool if, like because you in any of these movies you have a team, but you still have to have kind of like your point of view main character. It'd be cool if like Speed and Wiccan were kind of the main characters having to go up against their mom.
I mean that they are kind of the main plot point of this film. If you watch the movie or the trailer, it kind of zooms in on Wanda's eye at one point, and it shows like two cells, like prison cells, in her vision. And so the theory is that the Illuminati is holding her children in those cells, and that's why she's going to war with them.
Gotcha. Do you
So
think that I can never pronounce his name, but the gentleman who played Mr. Fantastic in the original Fantastic Four, do you think he'll be a part of the Illuminati?
I hope it's Krasinski. I really do. I mean, it could be him. Either one, I'm fine with. The theory I had the other day that is a lot of fun is, this is a Sam Raimi movie. So if you know Sam Raimi movies, Bruce Campbell is always going to be somewhere in the movie.
Yes.
I want to see him play in Black Bolt.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
He's got a big chin. It would be perfect. You don't have to say that. You just be sitting there. You're like, is that Bruce Campbell?
Oh man, and you know what's funny with the film? This definitely looks like a Sam Raimi film, and I am all here for it.
Yeah, and
Like
it looks like it ties heavily into What If, the cartoon series, which I was not a huge fan of What If, except for the Doctor Strange episode. I was not a huge fan of it.
I like to, so that's the thing with What If and really with anthology series in general is there are some episodes that I really like and there are some episodes that I thought were okay and there were some episodes that I didn't like. Like,
Yeah.
the Doctor Strange episode was definitely top tier. I like the What If Ultron one. I actually really like that one because I love Ultron, which he seems to be coming back in some way with like the Ultron drones and everything.
Yeah.
But I know that Agent Carter is supposed to be not Agent Carter, Captain Carter is supposed to be in this film as well.
And if you watch the one scene where they're falling, Doctor Strange and America Chavez are falling like towards some dinosaurs, you can see one of the portals that's going into a cartoon world. So I don't know if Captain Carter's could actually be animated in the film, which would be insane. So we'll see.
And then I think that at one point during it could be Wanda going crazy or it could be zombie Wanda. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm also wondering if Agatha's going to show up, but we could talk about Doctor Strange all night. We got a lot of movies,
right? Yeah,
so
yeah.
We have to move on.
Yes, yes.
So we'll talk about Doctor Strange again when it gets a little closer to release. So next up is a movie I don't know about, and that's Lightyear.
Yeah. I my childhood, like I have certain VHS tapes in my head that I remember watching. Like that was X-Men: Night of the Sentinels, Batman Beyond, and then kind of the pilot movie Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
Right.
um, and so like for me, that's my Buzz Lightyear. Uh,
Yeah. So I can't. Okay, go ahead.
this looks like Star Trek Buzz Lightyear, sort of like. I definitely don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, and I can't quite wrap my head around what they're going for. Like, was Buzz like an actual person, and now we're seeing his adventures, and then they made a toy line, a cartoon show based on him? Like it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
So I can't quite figure out what this is supposed to be. Um, so yeah, I don't. It doesn't look bad. I
No.
just don't know what to make of it.
Right, right. I mean, honestly, if Warp Dark Matter shows up, I'll freak out.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Um, Jurassic World Domination.
I
Uh,
think it's Dominion actually.
oh my gosh, I misspelled it. Let me fix it real quick. Shh, don't tell the audience. Um, yeah,
Anyway, this is very much the idea of the requel uh, for Jurassic Park, with coming from movies like the most recent Scream and Ghostbusters Afterlife, bringing in your and of course Star Wars, bringing in your classic cast to kind of pass the torch, I suppose.
yeah, and I think Star Wars kind of did it wrong, so everybody could learn the lessons. Everybody's kind of doing it
Yeah,
right since then.
yeah,
So yeah, this I'm not the like, I think I've said in the past I'm not the biggest Jurassic Park fan, but this looks pretty fun.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm actually curious about it. And the original cast, it was really fun seeing them again, seeing them interact with the other cast, and just seeing what they
Yeah,
do with dinosaurs being in the real
yeah, yeah.
world. How do we adapt to them being everywhere and stuff? That I think that'll be interesting.
Well, and another thing that I find interesting is, typically in a film like this, with like the original cast passing the torch, this is actually a lot more like, if we're going to bring back to Star Trek Generations, where we're already familiar with the new cast as well, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
yeah. And that's kind of the beauty of the early Marvel movies. It's like when you would do Avengers, you don't have to take time to introduce Captain America or Thor, Iron Man. The audience already knows, so we can just move on and get to the point.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. So looking forward to that one. Next up, another Marvel film, Thor: Love and Thunder. Caleb, what are your thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder?
So let's start with my thoughts on Thor Ragnarok because it's the same team. I am not a fan of Thor Ragnarok. I acknowledge that why people like it, and I understand it and I respect it. It's not my type of film. Uh, yeah, I know.
Well,
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok's like this. Everyone loves it, and I love Iron Man 3.
right,
Um,
and I get what you're saying is that Thor 1 and 2 were setting up one type of film, and then part 3 is like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do something radically different and just kind of ignore the tones of the first two.
yeah.
And
Um,
I get that because I was expecting something totally different with Ragnarok. I was wanting more like the death of the gods and just chaos and just this real dark movie. Instead, we got, hey, we're gonna go have fun on another planet with Hulk.
mm,
It was just kind of like, okay,
yeah. Yeah, I definitely felt like it was as close to Monty Python as Marvel ever needs to get.
oh no, we could get closer to Monty Python. If they do Next Wave, we'll go full Monty Python.
With Next Wave, I'll accept it though, because
Okay,
because Next Wave needs to be that.
yeah, yeah,
But Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm going back and forth on this because I'm excited that Natalie Portman is coming back. I think it's cool that they're doing the Mighty Thor with Jane Foster, but the problem is her cancer is a very important thing, and if you show me Thor Ragnarok, I don't know if this team can handle the weight of cancer.
Well, I mean, James Gunn handled it in Guardians of the Galaxy, so I think we could. I think you know I think with Thor Ragnarok they were trying to shake things up, get people's attention, and now they might go just a little bit more
Mm.
serious. But I don't know. I've heard some of his Watiti's statements that made me think maybe not. Maybe they're gonna go really silly with this.
Yeah, and that's the thing that breaks my heart the most is I know that Taika Waititi doesn't have to do this because he does What We Do in the Shadows, and he is really heavily involved with the Mandalorian. So he can make things of substance that have comedy in them, but still things
Right.
of substance. And I honestly, that's probably where Thor Ragnarok loses me. Is I just don't think there's any substance there. And
Yeah.
so with Love and Thunder, I fear that there won't be any substance.
And maybe this is. I know we talked about doing a pod about Marvel's missed opportunities, but one of them in Ragnarok is Executioner's story in the comic book is one of the most memorable sacrifices of all time,
Yeah.
and he's just a joke character in Ragnarok.
Well, it's not. That's not even the only missed opportunity about that character. They got Carl Urban to play him.
And I love Carl, but yeah, it was kind of it was odd choices.
Yeah, which I think he could pull it off, but like, why would you waste Carl Urban on that
Right.
on that interpretation of the character?
Yeah.
Um,
And I
now,
felt the same way about Avengers Endgame, where they got the guy who ended up playing Scorpion in the new Mortal Kombat, and they killed him off right away. I was like, oh, he's such a good actor.
yeah,
Why did you just throw him away, Marvel? What are you
right,
doing?
right. Uh, now, I I don't know much about Gore the God Butcher. Are you familiar with this character at all?
I know I've read the story, but it's been a while. Yeah, I mean, he's literally a he's going around killing all the gods, literally. So yeah,
Now that honestly what I'm afraid of, because honestly Thor Ragnarok had this where it was like two movies. There was one half of the movie that I was really digging, which was like the Sakaar Planet Hulk stuff. It's just whenever we got back to the actual Ragnarok part where it started to lose me.
yeah.
I'm afraid that, like, with all the Thor stuff and the Mighty Thor stuff, we're going to be doing nothing but comedy, and then I'm going to be really digging the Gore the God Butcher stuff, and then
And
it's
not to mention the Guardians of the Galaxy are in the movie. Are they just dropping him off at the beginning? Are they in the whole movie? I
I
don't know.
I I'll go ahead and make this call right now that the beginning of the movie is Star-Lord kicking Thor off the ship, and then that's it.
And maybe they show up again at the end, picking back up or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. It's
It
definitely
also depends. It
it's
depends if Beta Ray Bill shows up. If he shows up, I think we'll get more Guardians. We'll see.
yeah. The As Guardians of the Galaxy are not happening as much as I would have wanted.
Well, James Gunn getting fired blew up all their plans.
Yeah.
It really. I mean, I think that a lot of people complain about Marvel Phase 4, and it's largely because James Gunn got fired and blew up all their plans, and they just had to scramble and shoehorn other movies in. And I think that's why you're seeing this confusion right now. And I think the ship will right itself. We get a couple years in, and when X Men, I think that's before we get going, it'll be fine. But we're just
Yeah.
kind of some bumpy road right now.
Yeah, I definitely think that James Gunn was probably going to be there, because at first you had Joss Whedon, and then you had the Rousseau brothers kind of being kind of not in charge because Kevin Feige's in charge, but kind of more hands on.
Like
And
a
I think
showrunner, like
right,
it goes through them, and they're kind of guiding what direction everything's going. Yeah, I think James Gunn was going to be that for their cosmic side, and then everything just blew up when they
yeah,
fired him. So the fact that they got him back to do part 3 is amazing. But it sounds like he's really fallen in love with DC, and we'll be in for Guardians 3 and these Guardian specials, and that'll probably be it. So,
which I am totally down for more DC because Peacemaker just ended, and that was great.
I still haven't checked out Peacemaker.
It's a lot raunchier. It's
Yeah,
probably it's one of the
that's my
it's one of the raunchiest
issue.
things he's done. So I will let you know that.
Yeah, so that's my issue. But I heard it was great, so I'm torn. We'll see. I might eventually sit down and watch it. I've been in a weird mood lately. I actually watched South Park for the first time in 20 years
Oh, really?
the other day, so we'll see. Speaking of raunchy, next up we have Blazing Samurai, which is a modern take on Blazing Saddles involving samurai.
Now, I had not heard of this film until you sent me that list, and then it wasn't until you told me that it was based on Blazing Saddle that it all kind of just started coming together for me.
Yeah, I did not know about this movie either. Until I just saw it on the Wikipedia list. I was like, "What is that?" I clicked it and I was like, "What? A modern take on Blazing Saddle?" Because a lot of people have said Blazing Saddles is something that modern audiences can't handle.
Ah, yeah. Now, Blazing Saddles is one thing that I myself haven't seen, but I definitely have seen some of the more famous scenes that you probably couldn't get away with today.
Well, yeah, and so we'll see. I don't know. I know Mel Brooks is playing a character in it, which is
Yes.
great.
I
Um,
believe he's credited as Shogun, so I don't know if that means he's like the main bad guy or.
it'll probably just be like a cameo, kind of like his yogurt character in Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see. Um, so I'm very curious if it could be a terrible film. I don't know. Like I said, we know nothing about it other than it's supposed to be animated and loosely based on Blazing Saddles.
This is a movie
So
we found out about within the last week.
yeah, so just put it on your radar. This might be very interesting when it comes out. Next up, we have a DC movie, Black Adam, starring The Rock. Uh,
uh, so I'll go ahead and take point on this one. I I love the I love the Shazam mythology and everything. I definitely don't get why he's getting his own movie. uh,
yeah, there seems to be a big Black Adam push in like the last 15, 20 years where they all of a sudden are like, oh yeah, let's start pushing him, this character that no one's ever really cared about. And it's kind of weird. I don't know. He seems like to be like the violent anti version of Shazam, from what I know.
yeah, and there doesn't seem to be like I don't know if we've gotten anything like this before, where this is kind of like a film about the villain,
Yeah, because
like
the Justice Society is supposed to be in it, right?
yeah, the Justice Society, I guess, is supposed to be the antagonists, I suppose.
Right.
Um, I'm trying to remember. I know Pierce Brosnan is Doctor Fate, which, regardless, I'm so excited for that. like,
Yeah, he'd
Pier-
be a fun Doctor
yeah.
Fate. Yeah.
We've got someone playing. There's Hawkman. I
Isn't it the guy from Leverage? Um, what's his name on Harrison? I think it was his character name on Leverage.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
guy. Yeah.
yeah.
And we're getting Adam
So that he's
Smasher.
he's a fun actor. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I love him. Adam Smasher's going to be in it, and then I
yeah.
believe it's not Red Tornado, but it's sort of a Red Tornado like character.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, there's like several
yeah.
versions of him. So yeah,
So no, yeah, and once again, I don't know if we've ever gotten a film that's been like this about the villain, because even Joker was not like this. Like, this is something that takes place in the shared universe, and it's about the villain. I guess the closest thing would be Infinity War, which you could call Thanos the protagonist, with Black Adam being the protagonist of this one.
yeah.
But I guess what they're doing is they're doing Shazam, then Black Adam, then the Shazam sequel, and then I guess they'll meet up in the third movie and fight.
Yeah. So for the audience that may not know, I I don't hate DC. I actually like DC quite a bit, but Man of Steel was so bad I vowed never to watch a DC film again, and I finally broke that vow last year. I watched Suicide Squad, so I don't know if I'll watch this or not. I still need to check out Shazam.
I think you'd really like Shazam.
I think I
Uh,
would too. I really like Zachary Levi, so
I've compared Shazam. I think it's modern day Chris Reeves Superman.
okay,
That's the vibe I get. Like it's just a really like feel good superhero movie.
yeah. Speaking of superheroes, the next one is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part One.
Part one.
Uh, Spider-Verse is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Love it.
I don't know how I feel about this one.
Oh really? You don't know?
You're taking one of my favorite characters, Miguel O'Hara, throwing him in here. So I'm like, okay, please don't get him wrong. And then there's crazy art styles in the preview we got, and so I just don't know if they're just gonna go too wild. I don't know. We'll see.
I definitely think it's gonna be the reverse where uh uh you know how like the first movie was everything was coming into Miles's universe.
Yeah,
I This one's definitely going to be Miles and Gwen hopping universes,
right.
um, which which could be cool because uh, I think this has the potential to be kind of like the No Way Home of animated Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I'll be curious if they bring in Morloon. Is that his name?
Yes.
The one that hunts Spider-Mans.
Mhm. Yeah, I would love Morloon to be the villain of this. Bring in Josh Keaton, bring in the Spectacular Spider-Man, please.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and then Oscar Isaac is playing Miguel O'Hara, right?
I think that's who played him in the last one. Yeah,
Yeah, he's kind of
yeah,
everywhere now. Like he was Apocalypse. uh,
yeah. He's
uh,
Moon Knight,
he's
Poe.
he,
Yeah,
he's Moon Knight, which I've seen a lot of footage of that. I still don't know how I feel about it.
it's either gonna be really good or really terrible.
Yeah, yeah,
There's kind of no middle ground with this one. You either gotta get this right or you're not.
yeah.
So,
Uh,
um, yeah. I mean, so I'm excited about this. I don't know yet.
yeah. Oh, and Jake Johnson, of course, is returning as Peter B. Parker.
Oh, I
Um,
love Peter B. Parker.
yeah, which is great. I do think that Miguel is going to be kind of replacing him as the mentor character, but I do think we're going to be getting a little bit of Peter B. Parker as well.
I mean, we kind of have to. He was so great in the first one. He was the best part of the first one.
I'm actually considering it as a Halloween costume to like dress up as Peter B. Parker, but like instead of like a full Spider-Man, I just get the sweatpants.
You know what? That's a great costume idea. I think I might steal that idea. It's
I
so
mean,
great.
I mean, it's a great like just Spider-Man, but in sweatpants. People know exactly who you are.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next one. One of my least favorite movies, Hocus Pocus 2, is finally being made.
Hooray!
Uh, my wife loves this film. I have seen this movie the first time I saw it when I was a kid, I did not mind it, but I have seen this movie 1,000 times since then, and I make fun of it constantly. But here recently, it's gotten a very big resurgence, very popular. You're seeing merchandising and stuff based on it and stuff, so it's long overdue for a sequel. So
Yeah, I think it's very much. There are some movies that are making a comeback specifically because of the availability of Disney Plus, and this is one of them.
yeah, oh yeah, Disney Plus is desperate for content, and anything that would get new subscribers, they know there's a Hocus Pocus fan base, so they are desperate. Um, yeah, and there is a Hocus Pocus 2 novelization. It's weird. So I don't know. I doubt they're going to use that for the actual
Yeah.
movie. But I see it on sale at Target all the time. I'm always like, really?
You know what's funny? I actually used to get this film mixed up with the Halloween Town series.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I've seen
so
those a billion times too, not by choice, but at least those have the original April O'Neil in them, so that's
oh
good.
yeah.
That's fun. All right, so up next we have the Flash. So I don't know if this probably has a subtitle. I just didn't bother to look it
No,
up.
it actually doesn't. Which is
Okay,
weird. It definitely should.
like I didn't know if they were going to call it Flashpoint or whatever.
They should call it something because like this definitely they are they are starting out with a weird they're definitely starting out with a weird storyline for the Flash.
Well, and yeah, this like should be like the third movie or the second movie or something. It should be your first Flash movie. For those who know, Flashpoint involves changing the complete time stream to try to. I think he was trying to save his mom's life, if I
Yes.
recall, in the
Yes.
original.
Yes, it was originally said that his father killed his mother, but you know he knows that that is not true because he was there. It was actually reverse Flash, and so Flashpoint is him going back in time to save his mother.
Yeah, and they've already done this on the TV show, so it's kind of like, oh, we're doing this again.
Multiple times.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I just got sad because I remember how great the Flash TV show used to be.
Yeah. Well, it's great for
Well,
me because I stopped after season 2, like just because I didn't have time to watch it anymore. And so to
yeah.
me, that's it. It ended at season 2. That's where I.
That's how I am with Chuck. I stopped when his sister gave had a baby, and it was a perfect ending, and
Yeah.
I never looked back. They were like, "That show got terrible." I'm like, "No, that's fine."
It's kind of like that's the cool thing about going back to shows that like because like a couple years ago while I was recovering from a surgery, I started watching Dexter. And
Uh huh.
people always said that like the Trinity Killer season 4, that's the peak, and then it goes downhill. So I stopped, and it was an amazing 4-season show.
Yeah, yeah. If you know when a show jumps the shark, just stop. You don't have to watch anymore.
Yeah,
No one says you have to watch the whole series.
I have a friend who does that though. He is a completionist. Like he still watches everything on the CW because he is that much of a completionist. He still watches Batwoman.
Oh,
Um, he keeps telling me how good Superman and Lois is, and I'm sure it's a great show. I'm sure I'd love it.
I have heard that a lot, and I'm a huge Superman fan, so I may eventually check that one out.
Yeah,
If I keep hearing the hype, I will probably break down eventually watch it. Uh,
maybe we'll do like we'll both watch the pilot or something like
oh, we
that.
could do a double. Maybe do it. That might be fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So Flash. We've heard lots of rumors about this that Ben Affleck's involved, Michael Keaton's involved.
Well, we know for sure that Michael. We've actually gotten photos of him in the suit.
Yeah, and he's talked about it. So um, it's exciting, but it's been done, and and Marvel heard they were doing this, and they kind of beat him to the punch with Spiderverse. So they're going to really knock it out of the park. Let's
Yeah.
briefly mention Ezra Miller. I'm not a huge Ezra Miller guy.
I honestly I don't think that he has gotten enough time to really for me to make because like from what I've seen of him, I'm gonna go with no. Like he's not great, but also he really hasn't gotten a whole like it's kind of like Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the Avengers movies is pretty different from him in his own solo movies.
Yeah, and
Um,
I, I'm just not a big fan of Ezra Miller as a person. There's video of him getting in fights in a bar and choking somebody or something, and
you,
it's just
you know
crazy.
what? I do remember that. No, yeah, you got me there. I remember that.
Um, but I've heard rumors he might now have a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and so I'm kind of like, bring him over there. So we'll see. All right, we got two more movies to get to. We've gone a little long. So next we have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. The Wakanda, the ending of that jumped into Panther somehow. Um, I don't know what to make of this.
The more I hear about it, the less excited I get.
I really enjoyed the first one.
I love the first one so much.
But the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of leaves. It's kind of like, why are you doing a sequel still?
Right. And I I have I'll go ahead and say it, unpopular opinion. They probably should have just recast. Because it's not like he owned the character. I mean, I'm sorry, he owned that character. You know what I mean? But that, I mean, what essentially, by not recasting, you're saying that we're never gonna get a T'Challa story on film ever again.
Yeah, I mean that's weird, and I felt the same way when Carrie Fisher passed. I thought they should have recast her. I know that's very unpopular, um, because I think that they were setting up a bigger part for her in episode 9, and then
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, we just got to recycle old footage and just shoehorn her in," and it's kind of like, I think she was supposed to have a big lightsaber fight. Episode 9 was the rumors I was hearing and stuff.
Yeah,
So
that would have been cool.
yeah, so yeah, I'm with you. I would have recast him. The only thing I'm really looking forward to in this movie is the rumor that Namor is in the film.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I think Namor is a very fun character. He's very arrogant and a jerk, and he could be, if they get that right, he could be very fun on screen.
Which perhaps right now he doesn't exist, and then we find out that House of M actually did happen, and then
Yeah, I mean they kind of set him up in which one was it? Endgame or one of them? They said there was earthquakes under the sea. They're Wakanda and they're dealing with it. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I keep forgetting Namor's technically a mutant. So
Well, he's the first mutant.
I mean, you say first, but Apocalypse. I mean, the first one that was ever created in the Marvel
Right,
universe, sure.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So we'll see.
I always had
Marvel.
this. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, Marvel's just been hit or miss lately. We'll see.
Yeah, I always had this idea. Like, if you're not going to recast, I said find a way, just retcon it. Nobody would care because he's a great actor and it's a great character. Find a way to bring back Killmonger, and then you make him have like the greatest redemption arc on film ever, and he becomes the new Black Panther, despite
Absolutely.
despite the fact that everyone hates him, and so then he proves all of Wakanda wrong, and the thing is, like, whenever he did Killmonger, he said that a big inspiration for him was Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. And so Vegeta kind of had like his own redemption arc. So like that's what I said should have happened. I know for a fact there's no way they're doing that, but
This would be a perfect redemption story because at the end of the first movie, they're both kind of trying to teach each other a lesson when Killmonger's dying,
Yeah.
and I think it's a perfect redemption story. That I would be interested in. We'll see. They brought Killmonger back for What If, so we'll
and
see.
that was one of the episodes that I wasn't a huge fan of, but I love him.
Yeah. All right, we got one last movie to mention. Super Mario Brothers. It's hard to figure out what this is going to be because all we have really is the
A
voice
cast list. Yeah.
and the cast is odd.
There's some that I love and some that I don't get.
Yeah, Chris Pratt as Mario is an interesting choice. Um,
I've never heard Chris Pratt do another voice other than Chris Pratt.
right.
So I don't know. Charlie Day is Luigi. I'm all for. I don't care. I want it.
Yeah, and I think Jack Black as Bowser is interesting. I think it could work. The part that gives me pause is that it's like the people who are making the Minions movies are making this, so it's kind of like, okay, is this gonna be just stupid humor for 2 hours? Is this actually gonna be like an epic movie? I don't know totally what we're getting. So I think once we get the trailer, maybe at E3, maybe
Yeah.
this summer, we'll know a little bit more. Um,
Oh man, so I just looked up the cast list because I couldn't remember. There's one that sticks out to me, and I love it. Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong.
yeah, that's pretty good.
That's I love Fred Armisen.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, no, I mean like whenever I see this and how Nintendo is kind of outsourcing its property to Illumination, it just makes me long for that Netflix Legend of Zelda show that we never got.
yeah, yep, yep. Um, yeah, so I'm very curious to see what this is going to be. We'll know more later in the year. Um, but those were our films of 2022. Is there any that we missed? Please comment down below, or any that you're looking forward to. Um, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely.
Lastly, we have our final segment of the show. He made me do it. Uh, Last week, Caleb had me read some comic books. They were Batman Dark City and Batman Secret City. Um, so, for those who don't know, this was like a year one type story of Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham, and there's crime is on the rise. There's a Red Hood gang running around, and some other stuff going on, and just about how him trying to deal with it at first not as Batman, and then him coming up with the Batman persona and so on.
Mm,
Uh, we've seen this type of story several times. Mask of the Phantasm or Batman Year One, but this one was different. Um,
yeah. The reason I had you read this one, definitely in preparation for uh Robert Pattinson's Batman. This is my favorite interpretation of the origin.
yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. The the one thing I don't know I still know how I feel about is the way he portrayed the Joker in this.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, I'm not a huge fan of the story Killing Joke, but I do like their interpretation in it that he was just a guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. And everything went wrong on one day where his wife and child died and he fell in the vat and he just lost his mind.
Mm,
I kind of like that idea. This one, he's already a devious, crazy mastermind, you know,
yeah.
and I don't know. I kind of like the more tragic story of he's just a guy who just had a bad day and his world just stopped making sense and he just snapped.
So the thing with Zero Year, and these are collectively known as the Zero Year, um, is that this is kind of just smack in the middle of Scott Snyder's run on New 52. And so um, not only did they change the Joker origin like that, but throughout stories like Death of the Family and Endgame, they actually imply that the Joker has been around for much longer than you think. Uh, like 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 they'll look at old historic photos of Gotham, and they'll see someone who kind of looks like the Joker standing in the background. Uh,
Okay.
um,
Does this tie into that Three Joker story at all, or is this kind of
no,
separate? Okay, 'cause that
no,
was Jeff Johns, I think.
yeah. That was Jeff Johns. That was definitely the Mobius chair thing.
Yeah.
No, the cool thing about Snyder's run is it's kind of, for the most part, self-contained. Um, like pretty, you can read all of Snyder's stuff from Black Mirror to Death Metal, and it's all pretty self-contained. And that's a cool thing about it, because like the reason that Dark Knight's Metal happens is because of the Court of Owls. Um, and that's why I like it. But in terms of Zero Year, uh, I there's a lot of stuff in this that I really enjoy. Um, what did you think of the? Because one of my favorite things actually is Bruce and Gordon's initial dynamic. What did you think of that?
I thought it was well. First off, I like a Batman who's making mistakes. I always think that's fun. Where he's like he doesn't quite have it figured out, and so he's kind of screwing up over and over.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I like how at first Bruce just had this idea that all of the cops were corrupt, and he didn't trust Gordon. And then slowly, Gordon kind of comes to his rescue, and then they kind of start. He's like, okay, maybe I can trust this guy. Maybe this guy is on the up and up. And he's and Batman's kind of checking up on him and just trying to see if can I really trust him. Because at first he's trying to do everything by himself, and he's just screwing up. And then he realizes, oh, I need help. I need people I can trust if I'm going to do this. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Ironically, so this in the way that this was released, because this was actually in the issues. This wasn't like its own miniseries or anything. So this story was actually kind of like almost a flashback story. It was in between Death of the Family and Endgame, and Death of the Family is about people losing trust in Batman because of the Joker, and so it's really interesting um, to have this story follow that, where it's Batman tried to do it on his own and realized that he couldn't, and so like why did he bring people into his war, into this crusade?
Yeah.
And one thing that I really enjoyed was the exchange between Alfred and uh, Bruce whenever he's like, you're never gonna win this war, and then Bruce is like, probably not, but it's my war.
Yeah.
um I definitely, there are some interpretations of Batman, like honestly the Nolan Batman is very much a trying to clean up the city so he can eventually retire.
Yeah.
This is definitely a Batman that even from the beginning accepts that he'll never be done.
Right. And that's the kind of story I like. If you ever watched the George Clooney interview when he was playing Batman, they're like, do you think he's still upset about his parents dying? He's like, oh, he got over that. I was like, no, he
Right.
never got over that. You don't understand the character at all. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Riddler in it. Riddler is a great
Yeah.
villain that people never use correctly.
Yeah, I definitely think, I think this is the best I'm sorry. I think this is the second best Riddler story. The first being War of Jokes and Riddles, which is actually a sequel to this that Tom King wrote a couple years back. Um, but yeah, nobody gives the Riddler the the credit that he deserves, and that I that's why I love this and why I'm so excited for Matt Reeves's film, because they got who is it? I can't remember his name. Who's playing Riddler? But Paul Dano is playing Riddler.
I just realized we left Batman off this list. Movie to talk about tonight, but that's fine. Talk about
Well,
it now.
so I mean, honestly, like I don't know how you're feeling about it. I kind of want to like. I figured we left Batman on the list maybe because whenever it comes out, we might just make it its own segment, like just reviewing that.
Well, you're going
Yeah.
to go watch this movie, aren't you? Okay.
I I think it'll be really good.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll see what the early buzz is. If
Yeah.
everybody's like, "This is the worst thing ever," or "This is great," we'll see.
We, if it's the worst thing ever, then we definitely have to watch
So yeah, that's true.
it. But now tell me about this. I think Greg Capullo is one of the best artists to ever be on Batman. What did you think of the art?
Um, so one thing I thought everything was very bright. Like I'm not used to Batman stories being this bright and colorful.
Yeah.
But I thought the actual artwork was great. I really liked the facial expressions and just how everybody looked.
Mm.
I was really digging it.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing about, because this is not just the Scott Snyder run. This is the Snyder Capullo run, because for 52 issues, it is them two on the book the whole time, which you don't see a whole lot. And so like it's really cool. If for 52 issues, it is just, consistently Snyder writing it and Capullo doing the art. Um, and it's all really cool. So yeah, I'm really, I didn't know what you think of it. I'm really glad that you liked it, because like I said, it's my favorite
It's
version.
Batman. It's hard to get Batman wrong. I mean, I'm seeing it happen, but it's
Yeah, yeah. Like I was gonna say, there's a there's a way to get him wrong.
yeah. I mean, we've seen that, but yeah, if you
Mm,
get a decent writer on
mm,
there, Batman's just a
mm.
great character.
Yeah.
So
Now, in terms of origins, I'm gonna go ahead and wager a guess that your favorite origins Mask of the Phantasm.
yeah, I mean, I kind of tie that one and year one together. They're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say so. Um, yeah, this one, is still fresh on my mind. I have to think about this one some more. I just, it's still new in my head. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll probably check out some more of these of Snyder's run. This was pretty good, and I think the library has some more of them, so I'll definitely check them out.
Yeah, yeah. It's super cool. It is up there with one of the it at this point. I think we're far enough away from it that we can definitely call this a seminal, legendary run, up there with like Frank Miller's Daredevil or Chris Claremont's X-Men.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely think that Scott Snyder's Batman is definitely it has ascended to that place.
Okay, I got two quick questions, and we'll move on.
Go ahead.
Has New 52 been rebooted since then, or is that still the continuity right now? Because I know DC reboots constantly. Is that
Right.
still the
At this point, I believe they've rebooted twice since then.
okay?
Because
Yeah,
because
that's that's my problem with DC. Is that's like a book of like classic DC stories. I'm like, well, why do I care? They rebooted so many times. I think stories
yeah,
matter.
yeah.
you know,
So uh Flashpoint happens, and so New 52 happens because of Flashpoint,
yeah.
but then not exactly, because then what they do, and this is whenever Tom King comes on Batman, Jeff Johns starts writing Justice League. It wasn't Flashpoint, it was actually Dr. Manhattan from the Watchmen. Um, whenever he decided to go off and do, he wanted to create life elsewhere, he actually came to the DC universe and messed with everything.
Yeah.
And so then that's how DC Rebirth happened. And then I think it's still sort of in that Rebirth timeline, but at this point, like, so many writers have left DC and Marvel, like, writers are just leaving left and right. Um, but no,
Yeah, and I hear that we're due for another crisis this summer. They're killing off the Justice League, and it's going to lead to some crisis nonsense again.
yeah,
Um,
but no, New 52 has been done probably since 2016.
yeah. Okay, I just thought I'd
Yeah,
ask.
yeah.
Question number two is Court of Owls. Is that a Scott Snyder story? Or is that before him?
That is Scott's. So, Scott Snyder starts on Batman pre New 52, with uh, Batman the Black Mirror, which is a Dick Grayson Batman story. And then he does a one-off called Gates of Gotham. Then he takes
Hmm.
over the Batman title, starting with New 52, New 52 Batman #1, which is going to which Court of Owls is the first story arc.
Okay.
It's Court of Owls, City of Owls, Death. Um, Death
Death of
of
the
Death
Family.
of the Family. I always get them mixed up. Everyone does. Um,
Okay.
then there is the 0 Year, Dark City, and Secret City. Then there's Endgame, Bloom, Epilogue, and then that's when he starts getting into the Dark Knight's metal stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
might check out some more of that. Very cool. All right, so let's wrap this up. So let me ask you this, Caleb. Have you seen a lot of Mel Brooks movies, or have you seen any of them? Or
I've seen Spaceballs and Young Frankenstein, and I love both of them.
yeah, Young Frankenstein's amazing.
Mhm.
So Caleb's assignment tonight is to watch Blazing Saddles. Uh, so
Which I am all for because of this samurai movie that we have found out about. I would like to go back and see what it's based on. Plus, I love Mel Brooks. I just never got around to Blazing Saddles, and I love westerns. I absolutely adore westerns.
so it's a lot of fun. I love Gene Wilder. Anytime he's in a movie, he's so good.
Oh man, he was great in Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein is amazing.
I I think of the Mel Brooks films I've seen, which, like I said, is just those two. I think Young Frankenstein's probably the better of the two.
Oh yeah, Spaceballs, in my opinion, is kind of overrated. I mean, it's fine, but it's not, it's definitely not his best work.
No, no, it's a Star Wars parody, and so that kind of gives it more points that it probably would get
Exactly.
if it wasn't Star Wars. Young Frankenstein is just brilliant on its own without having to parody anything but Frankenstein.
Yeah. Great films. If you've never watched a Mel Brooks film, please do so. Robin Hood Men in Tights is great. History of the World. There's a lot of great ones.
Oh wait, I've seen Men in Tights. I have seen that one too.
Okay. Great stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show for the night. We're glad you joined us, and we'll be here again next Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern. So we hope you will join us, and that's it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Y'all have a nice week.
Bye.
Bye bye.